Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison crouched behind a weathered boulder, his heart pounding against his tactical vest as he surveyed the narrow valley below. The Afghan mountains stretched endlessly in every direction, their jagged peaks cutting sharp lines against the pale morning sky. Somewhere in this maze of rock and dust, their target waited, a high-value Taliban commander responsible for coordinating attacks against coalition forces throughout the region. Morrison's team of 8 Navy SEALs had been tracking Abdul Rahman Kazemi for 3 weeks, following intelligence reports and local tips through some of the most dangerous terrain in Afghanistan. The mission had started as a routine capture operation, but nothing about this place felt routine anymore. The valley they were approaching seemed too quiet, too empty for an area known to harbor enemy fighters. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Chun adjusted his position beside Morrison, his sniper rifle scanning the ridgelines through its powerful scope. Chun had served 3 tours in Afghanistan and possessed an almost supernatural ability to read terrain and enemy movements. His dark eyes narrowed as he studied the opposite ridge, noting the way shadows fell across the rocky outcropping. "Something's not right about this place, sir," Chin whispered into his comm unit, his voice barely audible even to Morrison, who was less than 3 feet away. "Intelligence said Kazemi's compound is supposed to be in that cluster of buildings down there, but I'm not seeing any movement. No guards, no activity, nothing." Morrison nodded, sharing Chin's unease. According to their briefing back at the forward operating base, Kazemi maintained a small fortress in this valley, complete with armed guards and sophisticated communications equipment. The satellite imagery had shown several vehicles and clear signs of occupation just 48 hours earlier. Now the compound appeared abandoned, its mud brick walls casting long shadows in the early morning light. The team had inserted via helicopter 12 hours earlier, landing on a plateau 15 kilometers from their target. They had moved under cover of darkness, navigating treacherous mountain paths while carrying over 60 pounds of gear each. The approach had been methodical and careful, with Point Man Petty Officer Second Class David Rodriguez leading them through terrain that would have challenged experienced mountaineers. Rodriguez was a compact, muscular man from Texas whose ability to move silently through any environment had earned him the nickname Ghost among his teammates. He had grown up hunting in the hill country and possessed an intuitive understanding of how to use natural cover and terrain features to remain invisible. Even loaded down with ammunition, communications equipment, and specialized breaching charges, Rodriguez moved through the Afghan mountains like he was taking a casual stroll through his backyard. Behind Rodriguez, the rest of the team maintained perfect spacing and discipline. Hospital Corpsman Second Class Sarah Williams carried the team's medical supplies along with her own weapons and equipment. Williams had joined the SEALs through the Special Operations Combat Medic Program and had proven herself in firefights across 3 combat deployments. Her presence on the team represented the military's evolving recognition that the best combat medics, regardless of gender, belonged with the units that needed them most. The team's communications specialist, Petty Officer Second Class Brian Foster, monitored multiple radio frequencies while managing the satellite uplink that kept them connected to their headquarters. Foster had grown up in Silicon Valley and brought a deep understanding of technology to complement his combat training. He could troubleshoot complex electronic systems under fire and had modified much of the team's equipment to improve its performance in the harsh Afghan environment. Rounding out the assault element were Petty Officer Second Class Tom Bradley and Petty Officer Third Class Mike Sullivan, both experienced operators who had served together for over 2 years. Bradley was the team's demolitions expert, capable of breaching virtually any barrier or creating diversions with precisely placed charges. Sullivan served as the team's linguist and cultural advisor, speaking fluent Pashto and Dari along with enough Arabic to communicate with foreign fighters from other regions. As the team prepared to descend into the valley, Morrison reviewed their intelligence one more time. Kazemi had been tracked to this location through a combination of signal intercepts and human intelligence gathered by local sources. The Taliban commander was reportedly planning a major operation against a coalition convoy scheduled to pass through a nearby province within the next 72 hours. Capturing or eliminating Kazemi could save dozens of lives and disrupt enemy operations throughout the region. The mission parameters were clear but flexible. If possible, they were to capture Kazemi alive for interrogation. If capture proved impossible due to resistance or tactical circumstances, they were authorized to eliminate the target. Either way, they needed to gather any intelligence materials found at the compound, including computers, documents, and communications equipment. Morrison studied the compound through his own scope, noting the layout of buildings and potential escape routes. The main structure appeared to be a traditional Afghan compound with high walls surrounding a central courtyard. Several smaller outbuildings suggested the presence of workshops or storage areas. A narrow dirt road connected the compound to a larger valley system, providing the only apparent vehicle access to the location. The silence continued to bother Morrison as he considered their approach options. Intelligence had indicated the presence of at least 12 armed guards at the compound, along with Kazemi himself and possibly several other high-value individuals. The absence of any visible security measures suggested either extremely sophisticated concealment or the possibility that their intelligence was outdated or compromised. Chen's voice crackled softly through the team's communication system. "Sir, I've got eyes on what looks like recent tire tracks leading away from the compound. Multiple vehicles, maybe 4 or 5, probably moved out sometime in the last 12 hours. Morrison cursed silently. If Kazemi had fled the compound, their mission would shift from a capture operation to a pursuit through some of the most dangerous terrain in Afghanistan. The valley system extended for hundreds of square kilometers, offering countless hiding places and escape routes. Without real-time intelligence on Kazemi's movements, finding him again could take weeks or months. Rodriguez's voice joined the conversation from his position 50 meters down the slope. "I'm seeing empty shell casings scattered around the compound perimeter. Looks like there was some kind of firefight here recently. Could be our target had visitors he wasn't expecting." The possibility that another military unit had already hit the compound occurred to Morrison, but their operations center had confirmed no other coalition forces were active in this area. That left several unsettling possibilities, including the chance that Kazemi had been attacked by rival Taliban factions or foreign fighters seeking to eliminate a potential competitor. Williams moved up to Morrison's position, her medical equipment secured but easily accessible. She had been monitoring the team's physical condition during their 12-hour approach march, and was concerned about fatigue levels as they prepared for what could become a complex operation. The high altitude and difficult terrain had pushed everyone to their limits, and they would need to be at peak performance if they encountered resistance. "Everyone's holding up well physically," Williams reported quietly. "Heart rates are elevated but within normal ranges for this level of exertion and stress. No signs of altitude sickness or dehydration, but we'll need to be careful about pushing too hard if this turns into a pursuit operation." Morrison nodded, appreciating Williams's attention to detail. Combat medicine went far beyond treating wounds and injuries. It included monitoring team health and performance to ensure maximum effectiveness when lives depended on split-second decisions and precise execution. Foster adjusted his communication equipment and established contact with their operations center, providing a situation report and requesting any updated intelligence on enemy activity in their area. The response was not encouraging. Satellite coverage had been limited due to cloud cover, and signals intelligence had detected no recent communications from the target area. The team was essentially operating blind, relying on their training and experience to navigate an increasingly uncertain tactical situation. Morrison made the decision to proceed with a careful reconnaissance of the compound, maintaining the flexibility to adapt their approach based on what they discovered. Bradley checked his demolition charges and breaching equipment, ensuring everything remained secure and functional after their long approach march. He had pre-calculated explosive charges for different types of barriers they might encounter, from traditional wooden doors to reinforced concrete walls. The key to successful breaching operations was having the right amount of explosive for each situation. Too little, and the breach would fail. Too much, and the explosion could harm friendly forces or destroy valuable intelligence materials. Sullivan reviewed his cultural and linguistic preparations, considering how to communicate with any civilians they might encounter during their operation. Afghan villages often included extended families, and non-combatants who could provide valuable information if approached correctly. Sullivan's ability to speak local languages and understand cultural sensitivities had proven crucial in previous operations. As the team prepared to move down into the valley, Morrison felt the familiar combination of excitement and apprehension that preceded every combat operation. Despite thousands of hours of training and dozens of previous missions, each operation presented unique challenges and unpredictable variables. Success depended on their ability to adapt and overcome whatever obstacles they encountered while maintaining focus on their primary objective. The morning sun climbed higher, reducing the concealment provided by shadows while increasing the risk of detection by any enemy forces that might be watching the valley. Morrison made the final decision to begin their approach, trusting in his team's training and experience to handle whatever awaited them in the compound below. Chen remained in position on the ridge, providing overwatch and communications relay as the assault team began its descent into the valley. His elevated position offered excellent visibility and fields of fire, making him a crucial asset for supporting the team's movement and engagement of any enemy forces they might encounter. The 7 remaining SEALs moved down the mountainside with practiced efficiency, using natural cover and coordinated movement techniques to minimize their exposure while maintaining the ability to respond quickly to contact. Each man knew his role and responsibilities, and each had complete confidence in his teammates' abilities and commitment to the mission. As they approached the outer perimeter of the compound, Morrison felt the weight of responsibility that came with leading men into danger. These operators had volunteered for the most challenging and dangerous missions the military could offer, and they had earned the right to expect exceptional leadership and tactical decision-making from their officers. Morrison was determined not to disappoint them or the countless Americans whose safety depended on their success in eliminating threats like Abdul Rahman Kazemi. The approach to the compound took 40 minutes of careful movement across broken terrain and sparse vegetation. Rodriguez led the team through a series of dry creek beds and rocky outcroppings that provided concealment from potential observers while allowing rapid movement toward their objective. The silence remained absolute, with no sounds of human activity emanating from the target buildings. As they drew closer, the evidence of recent violence became more apparent. Bullet holes scarred the compound's outer walls, and scorch marks indicated the use of explosive devices during whatever battle had taken place here. Spent brass casings glinted in the morning sunlight, scattered across a wide area that suggested a prolonged firefight involving automatic weapons. Morrison signaled for the team to halt in a position offering good concealment while they conducted a final reconnaissance before beginning their assault. The compound's main gate hung open, revealing a courtyard littered with debris and abandoned equipment. Several bodies were visible near the entrance, their clothing and positioning suggesting they had been defending the compound when they were killed. Williams used her field glasses to examine the bodies, looking for any signs of life or booby traps that might threaten the team's advance. Her medical training allowed her to assess the casualties from a distance, determining that they had been dead for several hours and posed no immediate threat. However, the presence of bodies also raised concerns about disease and the possibility that the compound had been abandoned due to some kind of outbreak or chemical contamination. Foster monitored his communication equipment for any electronic signatures that might indicate the presence of improvised explosive devices or remote detonation systems. Taliban forces had become increasingly sophisticated in their use of technology to create ambushes and booby traps, often using cell phones or radio triggers to detonate explosives when coalition forces entered specific areas. Bradley examined the blast patterns and damage visible around the compound, using his expertise in explosives to reconstruct what had happened during the firefight. The evidence suggested that attackers had used rocket-propelled grenades and possibly mortars to breach the compound's defenses, followed by a ground assault involving automatic weapons and grenades. Sullivan listened carefully for any sounds that might indicate the presence of survivors or ongoing threats within the compound. His language skills would be crucial if they encountered wounded fighters or civilians who might provide information about what had happened and where Kazemi might have gone. Chen maintained his overwatch position on the ridge, scanning the surrounding area for any signs of enemy movement or potential threats to the assault team. His elevated position allowed him to observe approaches to the compound that would be invisible to the operators on the ground, making him their primary early warning system against ambush or reinforcement. Morrison reviewed their tactical options based on the new information gathered during their reconnaissance. The compound appeared to have been overrun and abandoned, but appearances could be deceiving in Afghanistan, where enemy fighters often used elaborate deception plans to lure coalition forces into carefully prepared ambushes. The decision to enter the compound carried significant risks. The buildings could be rigged with explosive devices designed to kill anyone who entered. Wounded fighters might be hiding inside, waiting to engage any coalition forces who approached. Alternatively, the compound might contain valuable intelligence that could lead them to Kazemi's current location or reveal details about his planned operations. Rodriguez moved forward to conduct a closer examination of the compound's perimeter, using techniques learned during urban warfare training to identify potential threats and entry points. His movement was deliberate and methodical, with each step carefully planned to minimize exposure to potential sniper fire or explosive devices. The compound's architecture followed traditional Afghan patterns, with high walls surrounding a central courtyard and multiple buildings serving different functions. The main residence occupied the largest structure, while smaller buildings likely served as workshops, storage areas, or quarters for guards and servants. A well in the center of the courtyard provided water, while solar panels on several rooftops indicated the presence of modern communications equipment. As Rodriguez approached the main gate, he noticed something that made him freeze in place. Thin wires were visible in the debris near the entrance, suggesting the presence of improvised explosive devices designed to detonate when disturbed. He immediately signaled for the team to halt while he examined the potential threat more carefully. Bradley moved forward to assist with the explosive ordnance disposal, bringing specialized tools and detection equipment that could help identify and neutralize any booby traps. His training included extensive experience with Taliban IED construction techniques and the various triggering mechanisms commonly used in Afghanistan. The examination revealed a sophisticated network of pressure plate triggers and tripwires designed to channel approaching forces into predetermined kill zones. Whoever had rigged the compound had possessed considerable expertise in explosive devices and tactical planning, suggesting the involvement of experienced fighters rather than local militia. Williams established a casualty collection point in a position offering good cover while remaining accessible to the assault team. She reviewed her medical supplies and prepared for the possibility of treating blast injuries or other trauma that could result from IED detonation or small arms fire. Foster continued monitoring communications frequencies, listening for any indication that enemy forces were coordinating a response to the team's presence in the area. Intelligence reports had indicated that Taliban units often monitored coalition radio transmissions and could respond quickly when operations were detected. Sullivan used his linguistic skills to examine graffiti and written materials visible around the compound, looking for clues about the identity of the attackers or defenders. Afghan fighters often left messages or symbols that could provide valuable intelligence about their affiliations and intentions. The process of clearing the explosive devices required over an hour of careful work, with Bradley and Rodriguez methodically identifying and disabling each component while the rest of the team provided security. The sophistication of the devices confirmed that they were dealing with experienced fighters rather than typical village militia. Once the immediate explosive threats were neutralized, Morrison made the decision to proceed with a systematic clearing of the compound's buildings. The operation would follow standard room-clearing procedures, with each structure searched methodically for threats, intelligence materials, and any indication of where Kazemi might have gone. The first building they entered had served as a communications center, with sophisticated radio equipment and computer systems scattered across multiple rooms. However, most of the valuable equipment had been removed or destroyed, leaving only fragments that might provide useful information to intelligence analysts. Williams examined the bodies found within the compound, determining causes of death and gathering any identification documents or personal effects that might help identify the individuals involved in the firefight. Her medical training allowed her to provide accurate assessments that could help intelligence personnel understand the sequence of events that had occurred. Bradley searched for any additional explosive devices or weapons caches that might have been concealed within the buildings. His expertise in explosive ordnance disposal was crucial for ensuring the team's safety while they conducted their search operations. Rodriguez continued his methodical clearing of each room and building, maintaining the careful procedures that had kept him alive through multiple combat deployments. His ability to detect threats and react quickly to danger made him invaluable for close-quarters operations in potentially hostile environments. Foster worked to restore functionality to some of the damaged communications equipment, hoping to recover stored messages or contact information that might reveal Kazemi's current location or planned operations. His technical skills complemented the team's tactical capabilities by providing access to electronic intelligence sources. Sullivan interviewed a wounded Afghan civilian found hiding in one of the storage buildings, using his language skills and cultural knowledge to gain the man's trust and gather information about the recent battle. The civilian had witnessed the attack and could provide details about the attackers' identities and the direction they had taken when they left the compound. According to the civilian's account, the compound had been attacked by a rival Taliban faction seeking to eliminate Kazemi and claim control over his network of fighters and resources. The battle had lasted several hours, with Kazemi's forces eventually being overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. Kazemi himself had escaped during the fighting, along with several key subordinates and most of his important documents and equipment. Chen reported increased activity on the surrounding ridgelines, with several groups of armed men moving through the mountains in the distance. The enemy forces appeared to be conducting their own search operations, possibly looking for survivors from the compound battle or responding to reports of coalition forces in the area. Morrison realized that their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. The team had gathered valuable intelligence about recent events, but their primary target had escaped, and enemy forces were converging on their position. They needed to extract from the area quickly while avoiding detection by the increasing number of hostile forces in the region. The decision to withdraw was complicated by the need to maintain their surveillance capabilities while moving through terrain that offered limited concealment. Chen would need to displace from his Overwatch position and rejoin the team, potentially leaving them vulnerable to observation or attack during the most dangerous phase of their operation. Williams completed her examination of the compound's casualties and gathered intelligence materials while preparing for the team's extraction. Her medical supplies would be crucial if they encountered enemy forces during their withdrawal, and she needed to ensure everything remained accessible while they moved through difficult terrain. Foster established communication with their extraction helicopter, coordinating pickup times and locations while monitoring enemy communications for any indication that their presence had been detected. The extraction would require precise timing and coordination to avoid enemy forces while ensuring the team's safe recovery. The intelligence gathered from the compound painted a disturbing picture of the situation in the region. Kazemi had not simply fled from a rival attack. He had been planning something significant before the assault disrupted his operations. Documents recovered from the communications center revealed references to the highway operation and detailed information about coalition convoy schedules and security procedures. Morrison studied the captured materials while his team prepared for extraction. The references to highway operations aligned with their original intelligence about planned attacks on coalition supply routes, but the level of detail in Kazemi's planning was more sophisticated than anyone had anticipated. The Taliban commander had somehow obtained classified information about convoy timing, routes, and security measures that should have been available only to coalition forces. Chen reported additional movement on the ridgelines, with enemy forces appearing to establish observation posts that could monitor the valley and surrounding approaches. The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly, with the team's extraction window narrowing as hostile forces moved into positions that could threaten their helicopter pickup. Foster intercepted radio communications indicating that local Taliban commanders were coordinating a search for foreign invaders in the valley system. The enemy communications were partially encrypted, but Sullivan's linguistic skills allowed him to understand enough to confirm that their presence had been detected and reported to higher-level commanders. Rodriguez completed his final sweep of the compound's outer buildings, gathering additional intelligence materials while checking for any threats that might compromise their extraction. His thoroughness had already prevented several potential casualties from overlooked explosive devices, and his continued vigilance remained crucial as they prepared to leave the area. Williams treated the wounded civilian they had found, stabilizing his injuries while gathering additional information about Kazemi's escape and the forces pursuing him. The man's gratitude for medical treatment helped overcome his initial reluctance to cooperate with coalition forces, and he provided details about Kazemi's likely hiding places and the composition of the rival Taliban faction that had attacked the compound. Bradley planted demolition charges on the remaining communications equipment and weapons caches, ensuring that nothing of value would remain for enemy forces to exploit after the team's departure. His charges were carefully calculated to destroy the targeted materials without creating explosions that could be heard by approaching enemy forces. The civilians' information revealed that Kazemi had escaped with approximately 15 fighters and several vehicles loaded with weapons and communications equipment. More importantly, he had also taken with him a foreign advisor, someone the civilian described as speaking Arabic with what sounded like a European accent. This detail immediately raised concerns about the involvement of international terrorist organizations in Kazemi's operations. Morrison radioed their operations center with an updated situation report, requesting immediate intelligence analysis of the captured documents and recommendations for follow-up operations to locate and capture Kazemi before he could execute his planned highway attack. The response was swift and decisive. The team was authorized to pursue their target using any means necessary to prevent the planned operation. Chun began his movement from the overwatch position, carefully displacing while maintaining surveillance of the approaching enemy forces. His observations indicated that the hostile groups were moving with purpose and coordination, suggesting they were following specific intelligence about coalition force locations rather than conducting random search operations. The team's extraction helicopter reported mechanical difficulties that would delay pickup for at least 2 hours, leaving them stranded in increasingly dangerous territory with limited options for concealment or escape. Morrison made the immediate decision to abandon the original extraction plan and pursue Kazemi using the intelligence gathered from the compound. Foster worked frantically to decrypt additional communications intercepts, hoping to locate Kazemi's current position before the trail went cold. His technical skills were crucial for processing the electronic intelligence gathered during their compound search, and time was rapidly running out as enemy forces closed in on their location. Rodriguez scouted potential escape routes while the team prepared for an extended pursuit operation through hostile territory. His knowledge of mountain warfare and ability to navigate difficult terrain would be essential for avoiding enemy forces while maintaining contact with their target. Sullivan questioned the civilian more extensively about Kazemi's habits and preferred hiding places, using his cultural knowledge to understand the significance of various locations mentioned in the captured documents. The information revealed a pattern of movement that suggested Kazemi was heading toward a specific rally point where he could reorganize his forces and continue with his planned operations. Williams prepared her medical supplies for extended operations in the field, knowing that they might be cut off from resupply and support for several days while pursuing Kazemi through remote mountain terrain. Her ability to treat combat injuries and maintain team health would be crucial for mission success. Bradley redistributed demolition charges and specialized equipment among the team members, ensuring everyone could carry sufficient firepower and technical capabilities for whatever situations they might encounter during the pursuit. His expertise would be needed for breaching operations and creating diversions during the extended operation. The mechanical problems with their extraction helicopter forced a complete revision of their mission parameters. Instead of returning to base with intelligence materials for analysis, they would need to act immediately on the information gathered while maintaining pursuit of a high-value target through extremely dangerous territory. Chun rejoined the team after successfully displacing from his overwatch position without detection by approaching enemy forces. His observations confirmed that hostile groups were coordinating their search efforts and had established communication networks that could rapidly share information about coalition force movements. Morrison evaluated their tactical options and made the decision to split the team into two elements for the pursuit operation. Shin would establish a new Overwatch position that could provide long-range support and communications relay, while the remaining 7 operators would conduct the direct pursuit of Kazemi's group. Foster successfully decrypted additional enemy communications, revealing that Kazemi was planning to rendezvous with foreign fighters at a location approximately 15 kilometers from their current position. The meeting was scheduled to take place within the next 12 hours, providing a narrow window of opportunity for intercepting the Taliban commander before he could reorganize his forces. Rodriguez began leading the pursuit element through terrain that would conceal their movement while allowing rapid progress toward the suspected rendezvous location. His navigation skills and understanding of Afghan mountain warfare would be tested as they moved through territory controlled by hostile forces. Sullivan analyzed the cultural and political implications of the foreign fighter involvement, recognizing that Kazemi's operation represented more than a simple Taliban attack on coalition forces. The presence of international advisors suggested coordination with global terrorist networks that could have implications far beyond Afghanistan. Williams monitored team health and fatigue levels as they began the pursuit operation, knowing that the high altitude and difficult terrain would challenge even the most experienced operators. Her medical training would be crucial for maintaining combat effectiveness during what could become an extended operation in hostile territory. The pursuit began with careful movement through valleys that offered concealment from observation posts, while allowing rapid progress toward their objective. Each team member understood that failure to locate and neutralize Kazemi could result in significant coalition casualties when his highway operation was executed. Bradley prepared explosive charges that could be used for creating diversions or blocking enemy escape routes during the anticipated confrontation with Kazemi's forces. His demolition skills would be essential for controlling the tactical situation during what was likely to be a complex engagement. Shin established his new Overwatch position on a ridgeline that provided excellent visibility over the suspected rendezvous area while remaining concealed from enemy observation. His long-range marksmanship skills would be crucial for supporting the assault team during their operation. Foster maintained communications with their operations center while monitoring enemy radio traffic for any changes in Kazemi's plans or movements. His technical capabilities were essential for coordinating support and ensuring the team remained connected to higher headquarters despite their isolated position. Morrison led the pursuit element through increasingly difficult terrain, balancing the need for speed against the requirement for concealment and security. His leadership would be tested as they moved deeper into enemy-controlled territory with limited support and extraction options. Rodriguez identified signs of recent vehicle movement along mountain tracks that matched the route described by the civilian informant. The physical evidence confirmed that Kazemi's group was heading toward the suspected rendezvous location, validating their intelligence and providing confidence in their pursuit plan. Sullivan prepared for potential interactions with local civilians who might provide additional information about Kazemi's movements or the foreign fighters he was planning to meet. His language skills and cultural knowledge would be essential for gathering human intelligence during the operation. Williams ensured her medical equipment remained accessible while carrying the additional supplies needed for extended field operations. Her ability to treat combat injuries would be crucial if the pursuit resulted in casualties during engagement with enemy forces. The team's movement through hostile territory required constant vigilance and adaptation to changing tactical situations. Each operator knew that their survival depended on maintaining discipline and following procedures while remaining flexible enough to respond to unexpected threats or opportunities. 6 hours into their pursuit, Rodriguez raised his fist in the universal signal for immediate halt. The team froze instantly, each operator scanning their assigned sector while waiting for Rodriguez to identify the threat that had triggered his alert. Through the thin mountain air, the faint sound of voices carried from somewhere ahead of their position. Morrison moved forward to Rodriguez's position, keeping low among the scattered boulders that provided concealment along the ridgeline they had been following. Through his field glasses, he could see smoke rising from a hidden valley below. Someone had built a fire, suggesting either extreme confidence or complete ignorance of basic fieldcraft principles. Chen's voice crackled softly through their communications system from his overwatch position 800 meters to the east. I've got eyes on approximately 20 individuals in the valley below your position. Multiple weapons visible, and there's definitely a foreign-looking individual among them. Could be our target rendezvous. Foster adjusted his communication equipment to intercept any radio traffic from the group below while monitoring coalition frequencies for updates on their situation. Intelligence analysts at their operations center had confirmed that the captured documents contained accurate information about planned convoy attacks, making Kazemi's capture even more critical. Sullivan strained to hear conversations from the valley, hoping to identify languages being spoken and confirm the presence of foreign fighters. His linguistic training would be crucial for understanding the tactical situation and identifying key individuals during any engagement that developed. Williams checked her medical supplies while establishing fields of fire from their concealed position. The terrain offered excellent defensive advantages, but limited options for rapid movement if they needed to extract under fire. Her combat medical training included tactical considerations for treating casualties in complex terrain. Bradley surveyed the valley for potential breach points and escape routes, noting the layout of buildings and defensive positions that could complicate an assault operation. His demolition expertise would be valuable for creating diversions or eliminating specific threats during any engagement. Morrison studied the tactical situation through his scope, counting enemy forces and identifying weapon systems that could threaten his team during an assault. The intelligence had suggested Kazemi would be meeting with foreign advisors, but the number of fighters present indicated a much larger operation than originally anticipated. Rodriguez continued his silent observation of the enemy position, noting movement patterns and security measures that would affect their approach options. His experience in mountain warfare was crucial for planning operations in terrain that channeled movement and limited tactical flexibility. Chen reported additional movement on distant ridgelines, suggesting that the group in the valley was part of a larger gathering of enemy forces in the region. The tactical situation was becoming increasingly complex as more hostile elements entered the area around their target. Foster intercepted radio communications confirming that the group below included both Taliban commanders and foreign fighters discussing operational details for attacks on coalition supply routes. The conversations included specific references to convoy timings and security procedures that should have been classified information. Sullivan identified Arabic and what sounded like Chechen being spoken among the fighters below, confirming the international nature of the gathering and suggesting the involvement of experienced foreign fighters with extensive combat experience from other conflicts. Morrison made the decision to observe the gathering and gather intelligence before taking action. The presence of foreign fighters and the level of operational detail being discussed made this a potentially significant intelligence opportunity that could prevent multiple future attacks. Williams established a casualty collection point in a position offering good cover while remaining accessible if casualties occurred during any engagement. Her medical training included procedures for treating multiple casualties in tactical situations with limited evacuation options. Bradley identified several positions where shaped charges could be placed to block escape routes or create diversions during an assault operation. His demolition skills would be crucial for controlling enemy movement and preventing the escape of high-value targets. The observation continued for 2 hours as the team gathered detailed intelligence about the enemy gathering. Conversations overheard by Sullivan revealed plans for coordinated attacks on multiple coalition targets throughout the region, with timing designed to maximize casualties and disruption of supply operations. Chun maintained continuous surveillance of the surrounding area while providing precision fire support for any assault operation that might develop. His marksmanship skills and elevated position made him a crucial asset for engaging targets at long range if the tactical situation required immediate action. Rodriguez identified an approach route that would allow the team to get within effective engagement range while maintaining concealment among the rocky terrain. His route planning considered both the approach and potential extraction under fire if the operation went badly. Foster continued monitoring enemy communications while coordinating with their operations center for additional support options. The intelligence being gathered was already proving valuable for understanding the scope of planned enemy operations in the region. As the afternoon sun began its descent toward the western peaks, Morrison observed increased activity in the valley below. Additional fighters were arriving, and the gathering appeared to be building towards some kind of significant meeting or ceremony. Sullivan identified what appeared to be Kazemi among the assembled fighters, confirming that they had successfully tracked their primary target despite the complications introduced by the compound attack. The Taliban commander was engaged in animated discussions with several foreign fighters about operational details. Williams monitored team health and ammunition status while preparing for potential engagement. The high altitude and extended observation period were taking a toll on everyone, but combat effectiveness remained high despite the challenging conditions. Bradley prepared explosive devices that could be used to create diversions or block escape routes if the team received orders to assault the enemy position. His charges were configured for different tactical situations that might develop during an engagement. Shin reported movement on a ridgeline to the north, identifying what appeared to be additional enemy forces taking positions that could provide overwatch for the gathering in the valley. The tactical situation was becoming increasingly complex as more hostile elements entered the area. Foster intercepted communications indicating that the foreign fighters were planning to depart the area within the next few hours, taking with them detailed plans for attacks on coalition forces. The window of opportunity for preventing these attacks was rapidly closing. Morrison faced a critical decision. His team was outnumbered by at least 3-1, with enemy forces holding positions that offered significant tactical advantages. However, the intelligence value of the target and the potential consequences of allowing the planned attacks to proceed made action necessary despite the risks. Rodriguez completed his reconnaissance of potential approach routes, identifying a path that would allow the team to move within effective engagement range while maintaining some concealment. The route was dangerous and would require precise timing to avoid detection by enemy sentries. Sullivan continued monitoring conversations from the valley, gathering additional intelligence about planned operations while waiting for orders to either engage or extract from the area. His language skills were providing crucial real-time intelligence about enemy intentions and capabilities. Williams prepared her medical equipment for potential casualties while maintaining her assigned sectors of fire. Her combat medical training included procedures for treating wounded personnel under fire while continuing to engage enemy targets. Bradley positioned his demolition charges to create maximum disruption of enemy positions while minimizing the risk to friendly forces. His explosive expertise would be crucial for achieving tactical surprise and preventing enemy forces from organizing effective resistance. Chun adjusted his position to provide optimal overwatch for any assault operation while maintaining concealment from the increasing number of enemy forces in the area. His marksmanship skills would be essential for engaging high-value targets and providing fire support for the assault team. Foster established communication with close air support assets that could provide assistance if the tactical situation deteriorated beyond the team's ability to handle independently. The coordination would be critical for ensuring friendly forces received support without risking civilian casualties or friendly fire incidents. Morrison made the decision to take action as the foreign fighters began preparing to depart. The team would assault the gathering using a coordinated attack designed to neutralize key targets while minimizing exposure to enemy fire. The signal came at 1647 hours local time. Chin's rifle spoke first, the suppressed shot barely audible even to his teammates. A foreign fighter who had been serving as a lookout dropped silently, his weapon clattering against the rocks as he fell. Rodriguez led the assault element down the steep slope toward the enemy position, his movement silent and deadly as he closed the distance to effective engagement range. The element of surprise would be crucial for the success of their outnumbered attack. Sullivan engaged targets with precise bursts while calling out tactical information about enemy positions and movements. His dual role as fighter and intelligence gatherer was crucial for maintaining situational awareness during the chaotic engagement. Williams provided medical support while engaging enemy targets, her training allowing her to serve effectively in both roles as the tactical situation demanded. Her position offered good fields of fire while remaining accessible for treating any casualties that occurred. Bradley detonated his charges in sequence, creating confusion and blocking escape routes while the assault team engaged the main enemy force. His timing was precise, maximizing the impact on enemy morale while supporting the overall tactical plan. Foster coordinated air support while maintaining communication with higher headquarters, ensuring that assistance would be available if the engagement escalated beyond the team's capabilities. His technical skills were crucial for managing multiple communication networks during the intense firefight. Chun continued engaging targets at long range, his precision marksmanship eliminating key threats while providing overwatch for the assault team. Each shot was carefully aimed to maximize impact while conserving ammunition for the extended engagement. Morrison led from the front, engaging enemy targets while coordinating his team's movements through the complex terrain. His leadership was crucial for maintaining unit cohesion and tactical effectiveness during the dangerous assault operation. The engagement lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, Kazemi and 3 foreign fighters were dead, along with 7 other enemy combatants. 5 Taliban fighters had escaped into the mountains, but without their leadership and the foreign expertise that had made their planned operations possible. The shot that had started it all, Chin's perfect elimination of the enemy lookout, had provided the element of surprise that made victory possible despite overwhelming odds. The intelligence gathered during their pursuit and the successful elimination of the planned attacks had prevented what could have been devastating casualties among coalition forces. As the team prepared for extraction from their now compromised position, Morrison reflected on the complexity of modern warfare and the skill required to succeed in an environment where tactical situations could change rapidly and decisively. The mission had evolved from a simple capture operation into something much more significant, ultimately preventing attacks that could have claimed dozens of lives. The silence returned to the Afghan mountains, broken only by the distant sound of approaching helicopters coming to extract the team that had turned a failed mission into a significant tactical victory.